Chosen one, there is a knock at your door. You feel it in your chest more than you hear it with your ears. Everything around you seems ordinary. Yet inside something has paused because heaven has leaned in on this exact moment. You are not here by accident. You did not arrive by chance. This encounter has been arranged by divine appointment, aligned by perfect timing that could not have come sooner or later than now. If your spirit recognizes this moment, drop 444 in the comments. Not as a coincidence, as a confirmation that you were sent here on purpose. Chosen one, you are standing at the edge of something that has been waiting for you. What was delayed was never denied. What was hidden was being prepared. Heaven has marked this moment as a crossing point where the weight you carried begins to lift, and the surprise God sealed for you moves from promise into presence. This is not imagination. This is alignment. As it is written in Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3, the vision waits for its appointed time, and though it lingers, it will not fail. Anointed one, the season of wondering if you were overlooked is ending. A supernatural shift is unfolding, bringing clarity where there was confusion, provision where there was strain, and elevation where you once stood unseen. The door you are sensing is real, and what waits on the other side carries heaven's signature. Sometimes God's reminders do not arrive through explanations or loud declarations. Sometimes they come as something quiet, simple, and steady. Something already prepared, resting gently where your spirit can return. Chosen one, heaven is not whispering right now. Heaven is leaning in. Time is slowing because something that has been held back on purpose is now standing at the edge of your life. You are not watching this by accident. This moment is not background noise. This is interruption. This is timing converging. This is God pressing pause on the rush of your day because your spirit was about to miss what your soul has been waiting for. Before we go deeper, if something in you said stay when you could have scrolled past, type I am staying in the comments. That small act of presence matters more than you know. Anointed one, I know that feeling, that inner nudge that says, stay here a moment longer. Not curiosity, not entertainment, something deeper. The kind of pull you feel when you are tired of numbing yourself and pretending nothing matters. I have felt it in seasons when I almost scrolled past my own turning point, when exhaustion disguised itself as indifference, when silence felt safer than hope. And yet something inside refused to shut down. That same resistance to numbness is alive in you right now. Chosen one, the knock you sense is real. It is not symbolic. It is not emotional manipulation. It is not wishful thinking. There is something waiting for you that carries heaven's signature, not on your physical doorstep, but in the unseen space where God has been shaping you through pressure, delay, and quiet endurance. You did not walk through what you walked through for nothing. You did not cry the tears no one saw just to be left empty-handed. Anointed one, let me say this plainly because your spirit needs clarity, not poetry. God is not teasing you. He is not dangling a promise to test your patience one last time. What is approaching is not a prank, not a maybe, not a someday. It is a real delivery sealed with authority, timed with precision. The reason it feels heavy is because it carries weight. The reason it feels close is because it is. Chosen one, for a long time you watched other people receive what you prayed for. Their doors opened while yours stayed shut. Their relationships formed, their finances shifted, their opportunities arrived, and you were left holding questions you never spoke out loud. You wondered if you missed it, if you waited too long, if maybe you were never meant for more than survival. If you have ever carried that in silence, watched, waited, wondered, type, I have been faithful in the comments. You are not alone in that, and you are not unseen. I have stood in that same place, wondering why obedience felt unrewarded and faith felt invisible. But heaven keeps records you cannot see. Anointed one, every tear you swallowed, Every boundary you honored, every moment you chose not to become bitter, was not wasted. You were not ignored. You were being prepared. There is a difference between delay and denial, and only heaven sees it clearly while you are living inside it. Darkness tried to convince you nothing good was coming, that you were overlooked, that promises spoken over your life were imagination. But notice this, even your fear is starting to lose its voice, because what God seals cannot be intercepted. Chosen one, this surprise does not arrive through human permission. It does not need approval. It does not require consensus. It drops straight into destiny. Scripture tells us that the Lord delights in his own, that he rejoices over them with singing. That is not a distant God. That is a present one. The same presence that held you together in near collapse is now extending something new in the light. The knock is God saying, "You are not staying here." If that landed in your spirit, type Amen in the comments. Let heaven see your agreement. Let the algorithm know who this message is for. There is someone who has been carrying what you once carried. The same silence, the same questions in the dark, the same faithful showing up when nothing seemed to move. They have not found this word yet. Your seed, planted through the link in the description or the pinned comment, even a coffee. Even something small is what carries this message into the moment they need it most. But here is what heaven does not let go unnoticed. Scripture says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." When you sow into someone else's waiting season, God does not forget that you are still standing in yours. What you release on behalf of another, heaven returns on behalf of you. The same word that finds them in their darkest hour is the same anointing that continues to move over your own open door. Anointed one, understand this clearly. What is coming is not just money, not just connection, not just elevation, though God can use all of that. The deeper gift is shift, clarity where confusion lived, boldness where fear ruled, identity where insecurity once spoke loudest, peace where chaos had permission. Your posture is changing. The way you see yourself is realigning with how heaven has always seen you. Chosen one. You feel the resistance too, that inner split where part of you wants to believe and part of you wants to shut down and protect itself from disappointment. That tension is not failure. It is the doorway. Heaven is knocking while your past is shouting. Trauma tries to sound wise, telling you not to open what might hurt you again. But hear this without softness. That voice is not your protector. It is your prison guard. Anointed one, God is not mocking you. He is rescuing you. There is a line being drawn right now. On one side is the version of you that settles, delays, numbs, and stays small to avoid pain. On the other side is the version of you that steps into calling, authority, and alignment, even while trembling. You are closer than you realize. One agreement away, one internal yes away. Chosen one, heaven paused you here because this moment matters. Your spirit knows this is different, not louder, not more dramatic, just heavier, more real. Let this be the point where you stop treating divine moments like passing feelings. Something is waiting for you. It has been guarded, timed, and preserved. And you are standing close enough now to feel the air shift around it. The next part will take you deeper into why it could not arrive sooner, and why arriving now changes everything. Chosen one, you are still here because something inside you recognizes this moment as sacred. What is unfolding now is not noise or emotional build-up. It is alignment. Heaven is not rushing you, but it is pressing in because delay has done its work and hesitation has reached its limit. There comes a point where waiting stops being preparation and starts becoming resistance. And the Spirit knows exactly where that line is. You are standing on it now, anointed one. There were seasons when silence felt like abandonment. You prayed and nothing moved. You watched others receive what you were still asking for. and you learned how to smile while carrying disappointment you never spoke about. That silence was not punishment. It was insulation. God was protecting something fragile and valuable in you from environments that would have damaged it before it had time to mature. I know this because I have lived through seasons where I begged God to hurry, only to realize later that speed would have destroyed me. What felt like God holding back was actually God holding me together. Chosen one, the surprise waiting for you now did not arrive earlier because you were not the same person then. You had strength, but it was mixed with desperation. You had faith, but it was tangled with the need for approval. If heaven had released the gift too soon, you would have given it away to be accepted or spent it trying to prove your worth. God waited until something quieter formed in you. A steadiness, a knowing. The kind that does not need applause to breathe. Anointed one. This is why the breakthrough you are stepping into feels different. It does not come with chaos. Scripture reminds us that the Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him, as written in Lamentations chapter 3 verse 25. Waiting shaped your discernment. It trained your spirit to recognize what is real and what is counterfeit. Chosen one, not everything that knocks is sent by God. While you were waiting, many doors opened that looked convincing. Some offered relief without healing. Others offered attention without commitment. I remember saying yes to things simply because I was tired of being empty, only to realize later that what looked like provision was actually distraction. You may recognize that pattern too. Jobs that paid quickly but drained your soul. Relationships that felt warm at first but slowly dimmed your clarity. Those were not accidents. They were tests of discernment, not signs of favor. Anointed one, heaven is sharpening your ability to pause before you open doors. Oh, does this require me to shrink, hide, or compromise parts of myself God already healed? The enemy does not always oppose you with obvious resistance. Often, he distracts you with almost right options. But what God sends carries his character. It may stretch you, but it will never hollow you out. Chosen one, this is also why some relationships have grown quiet. People who were comfortable with your pain may feel unsettled by your clarity. When God begins to elevate you internally, it exposes dynamics that were built on imbalance. You are no longer available to be needed instead of respected. That shift can feel lonely, but it is necessary. Elevation always comes with separation, not as punishment, but as protection. Anointed one, do not mistake the pruning for loss. What is falling away cannot go where you are going. God is not removing people to leave you empty. He is making room for connections that can stand under the weight of what he is placing on your life. This season is refining your circle, your pace, and your focus. You are being trusted with more, and trust always comes with responsibility. Chosen one, the surprise waiting for you is not only something you receive, it is something you must steward. That is why your habits are being examined, your schedule is being adjusted. You may feel nudges to slow down in certain areas and move quickly in others. This is not pressure, it is guidance. When God prepares to release something significant, he also prepares the vessel. I have learned that when my inner world was cluttered, I could not hold what God wanted to pour. Simplicity became a form of obedience. Anointed one, God is inviting you to live with intention, not autopilot. You are moving from survival into stewardship, and that shift changes how you walk, speak, and choose. Chosen one, there is also a test happening quietly beneath the surface, a test of posture. Are your hands open or clenched around old plans and expectations? Many delays were actually invitations to release control. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding, as written in Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5. Leaning not means letting go of scripts you wrote in fear. It means allowing God to surprise you in ways you did not design. Anointed one, open hands feel vulnerable, but they are strong. Closed fists feel safe, but they exhaust you. What God is sending cannot be forced into fear-shaped containers. It requires trust. That trust has been growing in you quietly. Through disappointments you survived, and prayers you kept praying, even when you were tired. If you are choosing to open your hands in this season, even when it is hard, even when you do not see the full picture, yet type "I choose trust" in the comments. That declaration is not small. It is an act of faith. Chosen one, you are closer than you think. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are aligned. The resistance you feel is not a sign to stop. It is the friction of transition. Heaven is not teasing you. It is inviting you to step forward with discernment, humility, and courage. What waits for you carries purpose beyond your comfort. It is meant to flow through you, not stop with you. And as this settles, notice how your spirit is calmer, not louder. That calm is not emptiness. It is readiness. Chosen one, there is a reason your spirit feels both stretched and steadied at the same time. You are walking through a doorway that requires more of you, but it also confirms that heaven trusts what is in you. This next stretch is not punishment. It is preparation for capacity. When God releases something significant, He expands the vessel before He fills it. That expansion often feels like pressure, but pressure is not harm. Pressure is shaping. Anointed one, environments that once felt low will suddenly feel too loud, too chaotic, or too small. Certain voices that once influenced you now feel misaligned with your spirit. These shifts are not mood swings. They are spiritual indicators. When God is elevating you, He increases your sensitivity so you can sense what your eyes have not yet seen. I remember walking through a season where everything familiar felt uncomfortable. Not because anything was wrong, but because God was enlarging my inner life to match what He was preparing externally. That same enlargement is unfolding in you, chosen one. Heaven is teaching you to distinguish between opportunity and assignment. Opportunity can come from anywhere, but assignment comes from God. One moves you forward temporarily, the other moves you forward permanently. One pulls on your ego, the other pulls on your purpose, and the surprise that is waiting for you is tied to purpose, not performance. Anointed one, this is why distraction has tried to multiply around you. The enemy cannot stop what God is sending, so he tries to scatter your focus before you receive it. Old temptations may resurface. Old connections may reach out. Old habits may whisper their familiarity. This does not mean you are going backward. It means you are too close to breakthrough for the enemy to ignore. I have lived long enough to recognize that the strongest distractions always show up right before the deepest clarity. That is happening to you now. Chosen one, heaven is not simply handing you something. Heaven is aligning you with someone you are becoming. The surprise is not only external blessing, it is internal transformation. Where you once reacted quickly, you now pause. Where you once doubted easily, you now discern. Where you once sought validation, you now seek alignment. These small shifts are not small at all. They are evidence that God has been working in the dark places of your life, rewiring what fear once programmed. Anointed one, the kind that comes from being broken but not destroyed. The kind that comes from watching God hold you together when you had nothing left to offer but breath. Authority is forged, not gifted, and you have been forged. Chosen one, some people were comfortable with your wounded version because your dependence made them feel important. Others could celebrate you only as long as you stayed beneath them. But elevation exposes motives. You are starting to see who claps when you rise and who questions your rise in silence. Anointed one, this clarity may hurt, but it is mercy. God is not taking people away to punish you. He is clearing the path so the surprise He is sending will not be mismanaged by the wrong hands. Some connections were never meant to walk with you into your next chapter. Their exit is not failure, it is alignment. I have walked through seasons where God removed what I was begging Him to keep, only for me to realize later that those very things would have suffocated my calling. Trust the removal as much as the release. Chosen one. Chosen between loneliness and holiness. When God separates you, He is not leaving you alone. He is removing noise so you can hear Him clearly. You were never meant to blend into environments that diminish your fire. You were meant to stand where heaven sends you with a spirit that speaks louder than your words ever could. Anointed one, do not rush to replace what God removed. Do not chase explanations from those who misunderstand your transformation. Not every distance needs closure. Some distances are protection. Some misunderstandings are divine insulation. I remember desperately trying to explain my growth to people who were committed to misunderstanding me. Peace came only when I stopped defending what God was doing in my spirit and started walking in it instead. Chosen one, you are stepping into a season where your internal world is becoming your compass. You may feel unseen, but you are fully known. You may feel hidden, but you are deeply guided. Everything in you is being tuned for what is coming, and the tuning process always comes before the unveiling. That is why this moment feels weighty but quiet. Heaven is adjusting the strings of your life so that when the surprise arrives, you will be able to carry it without collapsing under it. Anointed one, what is being formed in you is not temporary inspiration. It is foundation, a deeper root system, a stronger spiritual frame. Something in you is saying, I cannot live the way I used to live. That is not anxiety, it is awakening. Chosen one, the surprise is not the miracle. The you who survived what should have crushed you, who kept seeking when others stopped, who kept believing even while breaking. Heaven invests in people like that. Heaven trusts people like that, and heaven is getting ready to place something in your hands that matches the resilience in your spirit. Read that again slowly, then come into the comments and type, I am the miracle, not as performance, as something your spirit has needed permission to say out loud. You have been faithful long enough to know that some prayers do not leave you. They stay, not because you are holding on too tightly, but because heaven has not finished building what that prayer requires. There is a door you have been standing in front of longer than you have told anyone. Bring it with you now. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, plant your seed of coffee, something small, or become part of this community, and stay close to what God is moving through here. As you give, place that door inside what you are releasing, not as a transaction, but as a declaration from someone who has waited long enough to know that what God starts, He finishes. What you plant today does not disappear. It goes into ground that heaven tends, and the same God who has been shaping you through every silent season is already moving on the other side of what you have been afraid to keep believing for. Chosen one, there are seasons when the promise feels close enough to touch, yet somehow still just beyond your reach. You wake up with hope one morning and feel nothing the next. You pray with fire one day and whisper tired words the following night. This fluctuation is not evidence that you are losing the promise. It is evidence that the promise is maturing inside you. There is a kind of spiritual stretching that happens between revelation and manifestation. A quiet endurance that only those marked by God ever truly understand. You are living in that stretch right now. Anointed one, the weight you feel is not disappointment. It is expectancy that has lived inside your spirit longer than you expected. When waiting becomes long, the mind starts to wonder if something went wrong. But long waiting is often a sign that heaven is building something with roots, not something that comes fast and fades quickly. I have known this in my own life, the way God allows time to mellow your desires until only what is pure remains. The impatience burns away, the ego burns away. What stays is hunger for what aligns with Him. Chosen one, You have survived enough to know that emotional highs do not sustain you. What has sustained you is the quiet choice to show up again, to pray again, to hope again, even on days when the promise felt so delayed. It almost embarrassed you to believe it. There is a depth in you that did not exist before. A steadiness no one can see unless they have walked through the same nights of waiting. God has been shaping your endurance in the places you thought He had forgotten. Anointed One. Anointed One. The afternoon you encouraged someone while feeling empty yourself. The night you whispered a prayer after telling yourself all day you did not have the strength. These are the moments that define the chosen, not the flashes of breakthrough, but the long, steady walk through seasons where nothing seems to confirm what God said. Chosen one, waiting becomes painful only when you forget who you are waiting with. God has never left you to carry the promise alone. Even when you felt stretched thin, even when you questioned your own resolve, something inside you kept returning to Him. Not perfectly, not loudly, but consistently. That return is part of the miracle. Anyone can believe for a moment, but chosen ones learn how to believe again and again and again. This is why the promise has not broken you. It has built you, anointed one. Weariness is not a sign that you failed. It is a sign that you have carried something holy for a long time. Even prophets grow tired. Even faithful hearts ache under the slow pace of divine timing. There were days you wanted God to speak louder, move faster, explain more clearly. But the truth is, if He had handed you every detail, it would have robbed you of the intimacy that formed through the uncertainty. The waiting has carved out a deeper capacity in you, the kind that can hold blessing without trembling. Chosen one, you may look at your life and think you have been standing still, but the spirit realm does not measure movement the way the world does. Sometimes the greatest forward motion is the simple act of not turning back, not retreating into old patterns, not abandoning the path just because it grew quiet. Heaven sees your refusal to quit. Every time you stayed when you could have walked away, something in your spirit strengthened, something in your identity anchored itself deeper. That strength is part of the surprise heaven is releasing. Anointed one, I know something about endurance that only time teaches. There comes a point in waiting where you no longer beg for clarity, because your heart has learned that God's presence is clarity. There comes a point where you stop asking for signs because your spirit has learned to recognize His echo. And there comes a point where you realize that the deepest faith is not fiery. It is steady. It breathes in silence. It stands in uncertainty. It trusts without theatrics. It believes without needing to feel belief in every moment. Chosen one, this steadiness is growing in you. It is why old fears no longer shake you the way they once did. It is why you can feel doubt rise, yet still choose expectation. Faith is not the absence of difficulty. Faith is the refusal to let difficulty define your posture. Your posture has changed. Even on weary days, something in you leans forward instead of collapsing. That leaning is faith. That leaning is evidence you are closer than your emotions suggest. Anointed one, there will always be moments when discouragement tries to settle over you like a fog. But you have learned how to breathe through it. You have learned how to let it come without letting it claim you. You may not feel strong every day, but you are no longer breakable the way you once were. Waiting has made you resilient. Surrender has made you grounded. Hope, even when fragile, has made you unshakable in ways you do not yet see. Chosen one, there is a kind of faith that does not shout. It steps quietly. It remembers gently. It picks up what God said, like a stone warmed by the sun, and carries it through valleys without needing an audience. That is the faith heaven honors. And I have learned that faith often stabilizes itself, not through dramatic signs, but through small, repeatable reminders. The kind that tether your spirit back to truth when your emotions wander. Anointed one, One such quiet reminder has been placed gently below in the pinned comment, not as instruction, but as something steady to return to whenever the waiting grows long. Chosen one, even now, endurance is working for you. The promise is not slipping away. It is settling, taking form, aligning itself with the version of you God has been shaping through every season of silence. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are ripening. Heaven waits until the fruit is ready. You are becoming ready, and when it breaks open, it will make sense why the waiting had to be this long, and why God trusted you, not just with the promise, but with the journey required to carry it. Chosen one. There comes a point in the journey where the waiting no longer feels like delay, but transition, and transition carries its own kind of ache. Not the sharp pain of loss, but the slow stretching of becoming. You are standing in that stretch, not who you were, not yet fully who you are becoming. And the space between those two selves can feel disorienting. It pulls at your patience, at your confidence, even at your identity. But do not misread this tension. Batted one, the closer you get to breakthrough, the more your old self resists. Not because it is stronger, but because it knows it is losing its hold. The version of you that learned to survive through silence, shrinking, self-doubt, and self-protection senses that its time is ending, and endings rarely go quietly. That tug of war inside you is not a sign that you are failing. It is confirmation that you are crossing a threshold. Chosen one, if you feel unsettled lately, heavier in your thoughts, or strangely tender in your emotions, it is because heaven is touching parts of you that were once numb. The promise is near enough now that it is stirring things you buried, old fears, old memories, old reflexes, not to torment you but to free you. What God is bringing into your life cannot rest on foundations that still believe you are unworthy, unseen, or unsupported. He is clearing the roots under the blessing before he places it in your hands. Anointed one, I have lived through this discomfort too. The moments when God begins rearranging things inside you without asking for your permission. You wake up feeling unsettled, not depressed, but aware that something is shifting beneath the surface. You find yourself thinking about conversations you never processed, seasons you never healed, patterns you never questioned. This is not backtracking. This is purification. God is not exposing things to embarrass you. He is preparing your inner world to sustain what your outer world is about to receive. Chosen one, elevation without healing becomes sabotage, and heaven loves you too much to let your next chapter collapse under old wounds. That is why this season feels so strangely personal. The miracles God performs around you will require a steadiness he is forming within you. That steadiness is not loud. It is not glamorous. It is not the kind of thing that earns applause. But it is the hidden strength that keeps your blessing from slipping through your fingers once it arrives. Anointed one, notice how your thoughts have been shifting. How quick you are now to recognize lies your old self used to believe. How easily you sense when your peace is threatened. How naturally your spirit rejects what once felt tempting. This is evidence of maturity, not mood. You are not the same person who started this journey. You are becoming someone who can carry weight. Weight of favor, weight of assignment, weight of increase. And weight always requires stability. Chosen one, your stability is being built in the quiet places, the late nights when you sit with your own heart and refuse to run from yourself, the mornings when you choose stillness instead of noise, the afternoons when you breathe through thoughts that once overwhelmed you. These small, unseen decisions are forming a spiritual backbone inside you. Heaven sees it. Heaven honors it. Heaven responds to it. Anointed one, there is a dimension of breakthrough that does not come through asking alone. It comes through becoming. When the vessel becomes ready, the blessing is no longer delayed. It simply arrives. God is shaping you into someone who can hold answers without breaking, carry influence without pride, and walk into new rooms without shrinking. And that shaping happens most deeply during seasons when nothing visible seems to change, chosen one. But something is changing. Your discernment is sharper, your language is cleaner, your motives are purer, your desires are more aligned with heaven than with old insecurity. The promise is no longer something outside of you. It is forming inside you. By the time it manifests, you will realize the real miracle was not the blessing itself, but the transformation it required of you. Anointed one, this inner formation is why you have felt called to slow down, not out of exhaustion, but because rushing no longer feels right. Your spirit is choosing depth over speed, truth over convenience, alignment over approval. These choices are not random. They are the final touches of God's hand on your character before He releases what He has prepared for you. Chosen one, there is also a sacred confidence rising in you. Not loud, not boastful, but steady. The kind of confidence that comes from knowing you have survived what should have broken you. The kind that comes from carrying promises through darkness and still believing in the light. You are fortified. Heaven has seen to that. If you feel that truth settling in your spirit right now, not just as words, but as something real, type "I am fortified" in the comments, or drop 111 if that is what your spirit reaches for. Either way, let it be said, anointed one, there will be days when faith feels heavy, not because you doubt, but because you care. You care about doing this right. You care about honoring what God entrusts to you. You care about not repeating old patterns. That weight is the sign of someone who is ready to steward blessing, not just enjoy it. Chosen one, this part of the journey is not about dramatic moments. It is about consistency, to stay rooted when emotions fluctuate, to remain steady when clarity comes slowly. This is the faith that carries mantles, the faith that births destiny, the faith that God builds nations upon. Anointed one, hear this in your spirit. You are not running out of time, you are running into alignment. What is meant for you is not slipping away, it is settling into its appointed place, and you are being shaped into yours, chosen one. When the promise arrives, it will not come to a weary wanderer. It will come to a steady vessel. That is who you are becoming right now, not by force, not by perfection, but by surrender. Quiet, deep, daily surrender. And soon you will look back on this part of the journey and say, that was the chapter where God made me able to carry what I once only dreamed of touching. Chosen one, there is a moment in every divine journey when the weight of becoming feels almost as heavy as the promise itself. You are in that moment, not because you are weak or wavering, but because heaven is pressing you into a deeper layer of yourself, a layer you could not access until now. This stretch you feel in your spirit is not punishment, it is alignment. The closer you walk toward what God has spoken, the more your life is asked to reflect the truth of it. Anointed one, the nearness of the promise has a way of surfacing the faintest tremors of fear. Fear of being unprepared, fear of repeating old patterns, fear of disappointing God or yourself. These tremors are not warnings, they are echoes of your former self fading away. Every time fear rises and you keep moving anyway, something ancient and strong awakens inside you. Courage is not the absence of trembling. Courage is learning to walk while trembling and still believing God will steady your steps. Chosen one, you have been walking through a season where your spirit is being trained to recognize the difference between convenience and calling. Convenience gives you comfort. Calling gives you clarity. You have tasted enough of both to know which one your soul prefers. This is why situations that once seemed harmless now feel off. Why conversations that used to entertain you now leave your spirit unsettled. Heaven is refining your appetite. You are losing the taste for what drains you. Anointed one, Do not underestimate these shifts. They are not mere mood changes. They are markers of transformation. God often changes the internal appetite before he changes the external environment. By the time the blessing arrives, your spirit will already be shaped to handle it. That shaping is happening even now in the smallest decisions you make. The boundaries you hold, the distractions you walk past, the truths you refuse to abandon, even when circumstances contradict them. Chosen one. Some days feel like past. Some days feel like you are doing everything right and still seeing nothing. But those nothing days are where the deepest formation happens. The roots of faith do not grow in lightning. They grow in silence. You are learning to hold your posture even when heaven is quiet. That is a maturity few ever reach. Anointed one, let me speak directly into what your heart has been whispering. You have not failed. You have not misheard. You have not ruined your timing. You are not too late, and you are not too early. You are exactly where God can reach you. Do not forget that timing is not just about when the blessing arrives. It is also about who you have become by the time it does. God is shaping both the blessing and the vessel, and he is not rushing either one. Chosen one, you may notice that the closer you get to breakthrough, the more your spirit becomes sensitive to peace. Not excitement, not adrenaline. Peace, deep, anchored, unshakable peace. It whispers to you that you are safe in God's hands, even when everything around you feels uncertain. This peace is not the absence of pressure. It is the presence of God inside the pressure. It is how heaven prepares you to carry weight without collapsing. Anointed one, there is a holy quiet rising in you. Not silence, but quiet. The quiet of someone who has stopped negotiating with fear. The quiet of someone who knows what God has spoken, and no longer seeks confirmation from their surroundings. The quiet of someone who has walked through storms and learned that God is not loud, but he is always present. You are stepping into a phase where your authority will come from that quiet place, not from striving, not from proving, but from being aligned. Chosen one, some memories are surfacing because they are losing their power. Some emotions feel sharper because they are finally being healed, not suppressed. What you confront now is what you will never carry into your next season. Heaven is lightening you so you can rise. Anointed one, you are also beginning to understand that obedience is less about dramatic sacrifices and more about daily surrender. It looks like choosing truth over impulse, choosing discipline over distraction, choosing consistency over emotional volatility. These are the choices that separate those who touch the promise temporarily from those who walk in it sustainably. You are being shaped into the latter, chosen one. There is another layer unfolding in this season. God is restoring your ability to trust yourself. For too long you questioned your discernment because fear disguised itself as wisdom. But heaven is giving you a clearer internal compass. You will soon recognize the voice of God in your own thoughts, not because you are perfect, but because your spirit has become familiar with his tone. That familiarity has been earned through nights of listening, days of wrestling, and seasons of surrender. Anointed one, you are stepping into a realm of divine confidence, the kind that does not shout, but carries weight, the kind that does not push, but attracts, the kind that does not seek validation because it already carries revelation. Heaven is marking your steps, not with flash, but with certainty, and that certainty will guide you into decisions that match the future God has prepared. Chosen one, the promise is not fragile. The promise is not slipping. The promise is not fading. It is forming. And so are you. Every quiet day, every weary prayer, every surrendered choice has been part of the molding. Heaven has been sculpting both the blessing and the one who will hold it. And soon the version of you that emerges from this shaping will not only receive the surprise, but will be able to stand in it, move in it, and flourish under its weight, Chosen one. There is a depth of transformation that only reveals itself when the promise draws near. A depth that touches places in you did not even realize were still guarded. This is where you are now, not in the struggle of the beginning, not in the ache of the middle, but in the refinement that comes right before fulfillment. But heaven understands it perfectly. Heaven knows that before God places something significant in your hands, He settles something significant in your heart. Anointed one, this settling is why you feel a strange mix of anticipation and vulnerability. Your spirit knows something is shifting. Your emotions, however, are trying to understand what your spirit already accepts. You are not unstable. You are unfolding. When God begins to anchor you into your next level, He loosens the soil around your roots, so you can grow without restriction. That loosening feels like sensitivity, but sensitivity is not weakness. It is awareness, and awareness is the doorway to discernment. Chosen one. Discernment is becoming one of your greatest gifts in this season, not because you studied harder, but because you have healed deeper. You can feel motives now without hearing explanations. You can sense misalignment in seconds. You can recognize spiritual heaviness before it even enters the room. These abilities did not come cheaply. They were forged through seasons where you had no one to rely on except God and your own growing intuition. Heaven trusted you with hidden training long before visible blessing arrived. Anointed one, there is a reason you see through things faster now. Waiting stripped away your illusions. Pain sharpened your perception. Silence strengthened your listening. You are no longer impressed by things that glitter. You no longer mistake attention for affection. You no longer confuse noise for significance. If your discernment has been sharpening in this season, if you have been sensing things before they fully surface, type, I am being sharpened below. That gift was not given cheaply. Acknowledge it. This is why God can now trust you with more, because you have learned to separate what seems right from what is right. Chosen one, but with discernment comes isolation. Not as punishment, but as protection. The deeper God takes you, the fewer voices you can carry with you. Not everyone can speak into where you are going. Not everyone can understand the weight you are beginning to carry, and not everyone has the purity to stand close to what God is birthing in you. You may feel misunderstood, but chosen ones often are. Not because they are strange, but because they are ahead. Anointed one, hear this with your spirit. People do not have to agree with your journey for your journey to be real. They do not have to understand your shifts for your shifts to be divine. You are not required to explain the spiritual processes shaping you. The things God is doing in you were never meant to be validated by human approval. This path is between you and heaven heaven has already said yes. Chosen one, there is something else happening in this chapter. Your capacity for obedience is growing. Not the dramatic emotional obedience that comes after a supernatural encounter, but the slow daily obedience that only mature faith can sustain. The obedience that chooses alignment even without adrenaline. The obedience that chooses righteousness even when no one is watching. The obedience that says yes to becoming rather than rushing into doing. Anointed one, anyone can obey God when the atmosphere feels charged, but you are learning to obey Him in the hallway, when doors are quiet, when signs are subtle, when emotions fluctuate. And this kind of obedience is building a spiritual backbone inside you, one that cannot be shaken by circumstances or silenced by doubt. Chosen one, you may notice that your prayers have changed. They are less about asking and more about aligning, less about demanding answers, and more about becoming ready for whatever the answer requires. You no longer pray to escape your process. You pray to understand it. You pray to endure it. You pray to grow through it. That shift is a mark of maturity, and maturity is always a sign that the season of release is near. Anointed one, this is the phase where God begins to reveal the why behind your journey. Not all at once, but in glimpses. A conversation reminds you of how far you have come. A moment of clarity shows you why certain people could not stay. A sudden peace fills the places where anxiety once lived. These are confirmations, not loud, not dramatic, but unmistakable. Heaven speaks differently to the mature, chosen one. And in this maturity, something else awakens: courage. Not the explosive kind that rushes into battle, but the quiet courage that wakes up each day and decides to stay aligned. The courage to say no without guilt. The courage to say yes without fear. The courage to let God rewrite your plans without demanding explanations. The courage to believe that you were chosen not just to receive a promise, but to live out the weight of it. Anointed one, the way people respond to you is changing, not because you are trying to impress anyone, but because heaven has placed something on you that cannot be hidden. Chosen one, you may not see it yet, but others do. They can feel your steadiness. They can sense your clarity. They are drawn to the peace you carry, even when they do not understand where it comes from. This is the early sign of elevation, not when doors swing open, but when heaven begins changing the way others perceive you before you ever step into the room. Anointed one, everything God is doing right now is internal staging for an external shift. You are not standing still. You are being positioned. You are not waiting without movement. You are being transformed into someone who can stand in rooms you once only dreamed of without shrinking, without apologizing, without doubting your belonging. Chosen one, this part of your journey is not about receiving the surprise. It is about becoming the version of you who can hold it, grow it, protect it, and multiply it. God is not just preparing blessing for you. He is preparing you for the blessing. And when the moment arrives, you will walk into it not as someone hoping to be enough, but as someone who already is. Chosen one, there is a point in every divine story when the shift becomes undeniable. Not because circumstances suddenly change, but because you have. You wake up and something in your spirit feels settled, not fully explained, not fully revealed, but undeniably ready. This readiness is not excitement. A quiet recognition that the stretching, the pruning, the waiting, the shedding, the surrendering, none of it was wasted. All of it was shaping. You are not standing where you started. You are standing where heaven has brought you. Anointed one, this final stretch carries a holiness that is difficult to describe. The air feels thick around your life in a way that only happens when something heaven-sent is drawing near. This is not anticipation rooted in imagination. It is anticipation rooted in preparation. You feel calm, yet alert, grounded, yet expectant, softened, yet strengthened. God has been weaving threads you cannot see into a design you are just now beginning to perceive. Chosen one, by now you understand something most people never learn. The promise is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of responsibility. What God is bringing to you is not merely blessing. It is assignment. It is influence. It is weight. Heaven would never place such things in the hands of someone who has not been refined to carry them. This is why your battles were not random. This is why your development took time. Heaven was not delaying you. Heaven was entrusting you. Anointed one, capacity to discern, capacity to steward, capacity to remain faithful, capacity to stand when others crumble under pressure, capacity to receive without losing humility, capacity to carry without losing peace. This is the kind of capacity that is shaped in quiet rooms, tearful prayers, long nights, and surrendered mornings. You have lived those chapters. You have earned your capacity. Chosen one, now heaven is expanding your influence. Not loudly, but unmistakably. The way people respond to you has changed. The way you enter conversations has changed. The weight behind your words has changed. You have shifted atmospheres without even trying. Not because you are performing, but because you are aligned. Alignment always carries authority. Authority that comes from having survived what others did not see. Authority that comes from being held together by God when nothing around you made sense. Anointed One, the surprise heaven prepared for you is not meant just to bless your life. It is meant to impact every life connected to yours. Your obedience will ripple into rooms you have never entered. Your healing will reach people who never witnessed your breaking. Your clarity will illuminate dark places in others. This is why the journey required so much surrender. Anything built on ego would have collapsed under this weight. But what is built on obedience will stand. Chosen One, there is an elevation happening inside you that will soon reflect outside you. Not elevation for attention, but elevation for assignment. Heaven is raising your posture. Heaven is sharpening your hearing. Heaven is strengthening your discernment. Heaven is anchoring your confidence. You will walk differently. You will speak differently. You will choose differently. Not because you are trying to be different, but because you are different. Anointed One, I know you have wondered whether you are truly ready, whether you have enough strength, enough wisdom, enough purity in your heart to carry what God is releasing. But readiness does not mean perfection. Readiness means surrender, and you have surrendered more in this season than at any other time in your life. Surrender is the soil where calling grows. Surrender is the space where destiny breathes. Surrender is where God finds room to move through you without obstruction. Everything this season has been asking of you has been one thing: open hands, not performance, not perfection, simply the willingness to release what you are holding and trust what is coming. There is one more place to let that surrender land. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, plant a seed, a coffee, whatever your hands can offer, or become part of this community, and stay rooted in what God is building here. This is not a transaction. It is the final motion of a season that has been teaching you that closed fists feel safe, but open hands are what receive. What God is preparing to place in your hands requires that they be open first. Your seed is not leaving you, not because God is distant, but because you are learning to hear Him in quieter frequencies. The mature do not need thunder. They recognize the whisper. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer chase emotional confirmation. You no longer panic when God feels silent. You are learning the rhythm of heaven. It is slower, steadier, deeper than anything the world offers. Anointed One, it is releasing shame, releasing fear, releasing comparison, releasing the old narrative that told you were always one mistake away from losing everything. God is teaching you that what He gives cannot be earned, and what He gives cannot be stolen. His gifts are anchored in His character, not your performance. You are not fragile. You are held. Chosen One. You may feel a subtle shift in your vision, not physical sight, but spiritual sight. You see possibilities now where you once saw obstacles. You sense timing now where you once felt confusion. You trust God now in places where you once assumed abandonment. This clarity is not emotional. It is spiritual. It is the sign that your inner world has aligned with heaven's timeline. Anointed One, the promise is closer than ever. But what matters most is not the promise. It is the person you have become while carrying it. A person who can withstand pressure without breaking. A person who can rise without pride. A person who can steward influence without losing intimacy with God. A person who can carry blessing without forgetting the one who gave it. Chosen One, every prayer shaped you. Every delay refined you. Every surrender transformed you. And now, Anointed One, the weight of what is coming does not intimidate you. It fits you. It rests on you like something familiar. Something you were always meant to wear. Not because you are perfect, but because you are chosen. Chosen One, you are ready. More ready than you realize. More ready than you feel. More ready than your past would ever have allowed you to believe. and heaven is about to show you why the journey had to be long, why the refinement had to be deep, and why the promise had to come now, chosen one. There is a point where the promise no longer stands at the edge of your life, but steps fully into your moment. You are standing in that threshold now. What heaven has prepared for you is not forming, not approaching, not someday. It is moving. It is active. It is here. The same God who carried you through the long night now declares that your Kairos time has opened. The language of delay has dissolved. You are not entering this next chapter empty-handed. You are entering it crowned, aligned, refined, and carrying a blessing that could not be stopped, slowed, or stolen. May the favor of God surround you. May His wisdom steady your steps. May His presence confirm your identity in every room you enter. If this word met you where you actually are, not where you perform, not where you pretend, come into the comments and type "I am ready." Let that be the last thing you say in this space today, not as a wish, as a declaration over your own life. And if this word met you deeply, share your spirit's agreement in the comments and remain connected so the same anointing that found you today can continue to strengthen you in the days ahead. Sometimes God's reminders come softly, placed in simple words within the description or the pinned comment for the moments when your heart needs quiet steadiness. Chosen one, go in peace, rise in purpose, and walk in the fullness of the surprise heaven has already released over your life.